Utie oha extra ponkno. Needs FM.
Ama wotumi edi dwuma sɛ na ɛbɛyɛ a ɛtena sɛ oni hɔ a yɛbɛhu sɛ wɔgya ade legacy papa nti wɔn no mu sɛ so na ame nso de sɛ papa I'll go through some of the ministries I'm so say as a realign near just number one Ministry of Information and the some was say which MPP for Abanya I would say NDC for military Mukono or more the Ministry of Information aligned to Ministry of Communication from Emmanuel Bako. MPP for Oshoma, one of their biggest deficiencies is their inability to inform and to communicate what they stand for. In Tina, among them, I just said Dr. Bawumia, our Vice President, and a Okasa, who to communicate with me. It's then what they could do upon coma and so the kind one on the Minister for Information, on also to communicate you. Now, apart from some communication, Nyama put up on coma communicate about what the government stands for. And so far, none I said that they are buying some all kinds. So, no, sir, now you can't say to say down within the context of the call for downsizing government and rolling back the frontiers of the state. If that is the context there, then my dream, you may not need a whole ministry in charge of information. Omonya could you upon presidential spokesperson na on fossil on kasa. Number two, I'm creating ministry to be a ministry for parliamentary affairs. The two of them, it must be scrapped. It undermines the concept of separation of powers and checks and balances as advocated by scholars like Baron de Montesquieu. Usha, the Umma family ministry now, it makes parliament subservient to the executive arm of government. Bra, na yes, this research now, Falano and some of this particular recommendation. That time, when I President Kufuor a critique that ministry, and then one said, okay, and then NEPAD was a development strategy. He adopted a new partnership for African development. As part of the strategy of NEPAD, the African peer review mechanism. African peer review mechanism, almost African countries, almost subscribe to NEPAD. No, examine government practices and systems because believe says so would have been here and a day informed to Ebaba. Ghana, as a yenny affairs to cry, a woman says, woman should the governance.
In fact, your office to cry Wakanda and not Cornelia Amwa and an eho.
Correct. Yadi who a man said, NEPAD, Emery and Simon, NEPAD for buy. And in terms of governance, the same kind said, I buy no on one home wedding now on two for any cafe as I said. The next major recommendation under good governance was for the government to abolish the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. Almost 2005 because almost said it makes the legislature subservient to the executive. And so, I'm kind of Mampany Kufuor, only one fine anthem, and Ujan Sahara, it's in a bra, get to about 2008. Now, President, and who decided to say, or come back to the NEPA APR for recommendation, not the appointment. And you know that, and now, scrap Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. It's, or scrap, Onyan the baby call President Mahama so by also respect, also maintaining one part Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs na ambiguous. For good 8 years, the ministry never existed. President Akufo-Addo about 2017, no, Sankofa, ministry, I don't know why, but within the context of the call for downsizing, there is no need to create a ministry in charge of parliamentary affairs that makes the legislative arm of government subservient to the executive. I think I see and I said, they say we have a hung parliament. It depends on how you want to see, but essentially it is 137 plus 1 and then 137. It's a hung parliament. It's, given the strength of the parliament that we have, it will be an exercise in futility for any attempt to make the legislative arm of government subservient to the executive. It won't work. If see a percent, the executive arm of government and legislative arm of government, omunya interface and answer in Tawasovia. Elsewhere, what they do is that they appoint a liaison officer, one officer in charge, who liaise between the executive and then the legislature to ensure that a simple liaison officer may work rather than having a parliamentary affairs ministry. Over the creative Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture. Osha fisheries, agriculture. Other Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture and an overarching ministry. I find the Ministry of Agriculture, not the cry, the livestock account and other agriculture related enterprises. Here, the Ministry of Agriculture so that you can set up different desks to man or to manage the various agricultural enterprises and that ministry. Also, overshare railways what's now say that railways train it's one of the most effective means of transport. Amount for park your car now train after human. Yes, the buyer obi and the policy fumes, emission of fumes, poisonous fumes. The idea says there's going to be development of the railway sector. No, maybe not if so far. Now, my says, railways so a means of transport. Why don't we have an overarching Ministry of Transport? Yempa aviation and Yempa ports and harbors and Yempa railways to enter. So you have one ministry, and then under it we have various desks that deals with all the means of transport. After you are creating Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. Now, Adakabre Ogataya, first, you have sanitation. Now, a district assembly and ensure sanitation. Town council from Sankas one. Saman, the Kai, the way they are action for so on. Meaning the Friday now one or one will run on one side. And your one is says Sankas for no Abba on the Samai. Na yeye na gane question fi na me na also pa epon no so crop on them ni so bi pebebi nti me na odwan ye na ode no ho ode ne ti ekọ twere epon no e no say yeye na ankwala na na aso ne ho ba twere epon nti tankas ni no opia na ye ti pia to opia ye ti pia to opia ye nti oye abaako mi ne so won say ya ho ode mbo e so e no da okọ ye le pe nia obo ewura na no a wan sesa no permission kaka e na quickly ye ko practice ho nti na sanitation no sometimes na tankers for ewo ho na saman ewo ho no na edi mu ba nti no sanitation ni dia again and I am constrained to the assembly now or take over. In fact, it is part of their role, mandatory role, to ensure sanitation. Now, every part of the country, Ghana, is within a district. And CSC sanitation, we must go and strengthen the district assembly and let them deliver on sanitation. Now, water resources, you bet me the Ministry of Natural Resources assets. Again, pluralism is a cardinal feature of democracy. And there's idea we must respect people's religious freedoms. Not before. Before say, the better whole ministry in charge of chieftaincy and religious affairs. Yamma Ahimfo through their National House of Chiefs. Let them close their ranks. Yamma Omoye, the needless partisanship among them. na ohina akoya for example na obi di na tem respect if you dem omo yentimi mfa mom because omo ya pagan policy. Let us encourage them to respect the constitutional injunction against pagan policy. Na say omo nye niam ebema obuo na yede amomo constitution de amomo no ebeko so act now. Sir, the House of Chiefs among Catholic American for some over religious affairs, let the religious bodies also close their ranks and talk about matters concerning them. There is no point there. Yeah, best set up a ministry to oversee this. I say, the Ministry of Employment. What is that? I know the employment. Rollins Sam for PNDC Secretary for Employment. Let me just say, employment there no way. Ubisa nkofobia and na me nkofo associate employment. You bet me after your bag after say you use to money na. They don't do that. They deal with settlement of labor disputes, labor related issues by your National Labor Commission. It's employment ministry no. Minjin di say omo idea amoye papedia. Yampa omo eduma no emma the National Labor Commission. Na empower National Labor Commission. Now, as a government commission, almost any you don't need a ministry separately for employment. And as the Yasa be create, it's a new ministry, Ministry of Public Enterprises. A public enterprise, state-owned enterprise. First, now FTC.
Said there was the to said the Minister of State, Bisa.
Ministry of Public Enterprise. Let's say. You don't. There's a ministry.
I just said, why you say a ministry, but then directly under the presidency.
Yes, so you are downsizing. Okay. The problem, if you man no mobile no, meaning this they would be ignoring the solution or the fundamental cause of the problem and be putting the problem. What I mean by that is the problem with our public enterprises or public corporations now. One fundamental problem has got to do with their over politicization. Well, a better mind and for her there, regime the bar or person appointing them for. And sometimes appointment of heads of these public corporations is not in consonance with Max Weber's conception of meritocracy. Like I said, Obia, it will be a show. Now, if staff or not, so Obia bar of a sort of for. So you have square text being appointed to fit into round holes. That's the reason why we call staff public corporations in the very there. Staff will be any age man away. Will be airton asana, will be airton sobolo. Be airton katikik, be air work to, be
but Obi is a Prof and public enterprise, perhaps a beer yentiminya ya hunchire muye because ushas ya from Jonko 4 pencil, we needed to have an institutional renewal. Anunti ena sata mokofa JH Mensambaye so me senior minister. The JH Mensambaye naturally no. Or sign Emma Papa Kwesi Indom and so ekokoye public sector reform be ho.
Utie oha echi ponkno. Needs FM.